Yo guys, Paunchy here, and today we're going to learn how to use performance mode and quick performance on our Analog Rytm MK2. Let's go. Alright guys, so I have a beat pulled up here. And now if we go to our performance mode, you'll see I have four green pads lit up here. Now each one of these is a performance macro, and they all have different parameters locked to different drums. So I'll show you how I have them organized, and then I'll show you how to make them right after. So this first one I have set to a hi-hat. Now, of course, this is just an example of a way for you to organize your performance macros, but you know, you can order them in any way you like. So this first one is for the hi-hat. It's basically a filter on the hi-hat. So if we play this, you can see that I can move in and out of the filter on the hi-hat just by how much pressure I put on the pad. That's basically the whole point of performance mode, if you weren't sure already. You can use these pads to basically add the parameters that you want kind of in real time. So it's different from scene mode, because when you change to a different scene, it just automatically slaps all those parameters onto whatever drums you have set, and so there's no in between. It's either on or off. But with this, with performance mode, it's quite literally a way to perform your beat just by using the pads. So that is performance mode in a nutshell. The second one I have here, the second pad, second macro, is set to the snare drum. So basically I have a filter. It's like the first one, except I have the filter set to the snare drum. So we can listen to that. Okay, so that one is set to the snare drum. The third one is set to a delay. Now the delay is only on the snare drum and on the hi-hats a little bit. So this is how it sounds. So you can really hear that delay, especially on the snare drum. I did tweak the delay a little bit, but well, you know, we can go through that in another video. I just want to get you guys on performance mode today. So the third one is a delay. The fourth macro that I have set here is actually a reverb. And I'm pretty sure I have it set to every single, yes, I have it set to these four pads, which would be the bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, and open hi-hat, closed and open hi-hat. So those are how I have them set up. Now, if you go to quick performance, or if you want to use your quick performance knob, this is how you do it. So I have four macros set here. So if I hold the quick performance button, you can see all these numbers light up at the bottom. They correspond to each pad. So you have 12 performance macros here that you can use. But as of right now, I only have 4 of them set. So all 4 of these are red because I can use all 4 of them with my quick performance amount knob here. Now you can just use one of them, and so I'll demonstrate that right now. So let's do the one on the snare, or on the hi-hat, excuse me. So you can see the pad not only turns purple like when I was using it before, but the quick performance knob is basically fading into the maximum amount of filter that I have on that quick performance macro. So you can use the knob in the same way that you can use your finger. So that's the whole point of the quick performance knob, is that you can do, you know, more gradual fades into your performance, your parameter locks. So another interesting thing about these is that you can use multiple performance macros with the quick performance knob. So if you want to do that, you have to press all of them like sequentially pretty quickly. So if I want to use all 4 of them, you press 1, 2, 3, 4, basically as quick as you can. And then when they're highlighted like that, that means that you are now using all 4 of them, or however many, onto your quick performance knob. So if I do this now, the filter on the hi-hat is going, the filter on the snare drum is going, the delay, the overall delay is going, and then the last one is reverb. So I can kind of, you know, go in and out of that. And now this is a way simpler way of doing basically what would be the equivalent of this. The only advantage to doing it like this is that you have a little bit more control over the individual macros, whereas with this one, it does all 4 of them, you know, the same intensity the whole time, basically. Definitely get some really cool effects with this stuff. Like, to me, using performance mode makes more sense to essentially, rather than a scene you might want a bunch of locks all on one scene, because you can only use one scene at a time. But with performance mode, I like to split my parameter locks over different pads, because then that way I can use them individually. I can use maybe just 2 of them at a time, you know, or just three of them at a time, or all of them at a time. So that's, to me, that's the powerful part about performance mode. So, but now let's go ahead and figure out how to make your performance macros. If you've seen my video on scenes on the analog rhythm that I did last week, then you will basically already be ahead of the curve, because it's very similar to that. So let's go ahead and recreate, you know, at least a couple of these up here. So in order to create a new performance macro, of course, be in performance mode for starters, and then press function or hold function and tap on one of these empty pads. So let's use 5. Okay, so now we get a menu exactly like the scene menu. You can move left and right, you can clear the macros, you can clear all of them, and then it'll tell you which performance macro you're using and how many locks are on there. Again, exactly like the scenes one. So let's go ahead. First, you always want to select the track that you're doing. This is where it gets kind of confusing, because you're using the same pads to kind of indicate not only the performance macros, but also the drums that you're trying to edit. So it gets a little confusing. So the first thing you always want to do is select your track. So hold track, and as soon as you hold track, you'll see which one is selected. But you can use that to select any of these. Don't let the colors fool you. You know, the only reason the colors are like that is because of the nature of how the pads are set up here. You know, the dark or the highlighted green one indicates which macro we're on. The other highlighted one indicates which track we're on. And then, of course, as you saw before, once the pads turn red and they start flashing, that means you have parameter locks on those pads. So this first pad, again, I'm just going to mimic all of the macros that I have on the bottom here on this next row. So the first pad was just a filter on the hi-hat. So we want to select the hi-hat. Boom, closed hat is selected. Now you let go of the track button, and then you want to hold the performance macro that you're currently working on. So hold that one because we're on 5. If you held any of the other ones, you would basically edit the hi-hat filter, which is what we're about to do, on these performance macros instead of this one. So you want to make sure you're holding the one that you're currently working on. So hold that, it'll kind of glow white. So let's go to the filter. We're on performance macro 5. There's 0 parameter locks so far. So again, I mentioned this in my scenes video. Rather than like memorize any kind of numbers or anything, you want to probably have the beat playing, so that way you can use your ears to determine where you want the filter set and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and play the beat. And then let's adjust the filter on the hi-hat. Okay, it's good enough for me. Now let's do the same with the other hi-hat, the closed hat, or the open hat, excuse me. So same thing, I hit track to select that one, and then I hold my performance macro, and then I'm going to adjust the filter for that hi-hat. And then you can also kind of test the performance macro there by applying pressure to the actual macro pad. Okay? Now, the second one is the snare. So tap on that one. We want to select the snare. Okay. And I didn't have to do function pad because we're already in the performance mode edit menu. So you don't have to, you can just cycle through them here like that. You know, you could, if you got really quick at this, you could easily, you know, do a bunch of parameters super quickly. You could also even do it live if you're super fast at it. But, you know, ideally you probably already want to have your macros set for when you play live. So the second one was the snare drum. I'm going to select the snare. Boom, already selected. So hold down the macro, get the filter. Let's get the song playing, or the beat playing. Okay, boom, I like that. Okay, now we can mess with it. Okay, all right, the second one, or the third one was a delay. So we want to apply the delay to multiple pads. So let's start with the bass drum. So, okay, that track's already selected. So I'm just going to go ahead, play the beat. Let's crank up the delays on this. Whoops. You got to hold the macro. Okay. Do the snare drum. Yeah, I'm just gonna crank all of these all the way up. All the way up. Okay. So when we do this one, you can see that 4 of these are red, which indicates that they are indeed locked to this. Turns out I actually also have a clap on this, so I'm just going to add some delay to the clap as well. The delay one I really like. I feel like every kit should have a delay performance macro. Now the fourth one that I had here in the bottom was a reverb. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we did on the last one, except to the reverb. So let's start with the bass drum, just to keep things simple. Whoops. Always hold down the pad. You'll notice that these values can go negative. So you can essentially have the opposite effect. If you have a snare drum that's drenched in reverb, then you can create your performance macro to be negative. So when you press the pad down all the way or use the quick performance knob all the way, you're essentially taking the reverb away rather than adding to it. So again, that's like another super, a small detail, but super powerful for the analog rhythm and just Elektron machines in general. So, but in this case, I do want to add reverb. I'll probably just, let's see, we'll just go to like 100. Okay, did the bass drum, let's do the snare. Okay, hi-hat, let's do that. The hi-hat already has a lot of reverb on it, so I'll put that one all the way. So does the open hat, also has a lot of reverb, so we'll do that. Okay, and then the clap is the last one. Okay, so we have 5 different pads here with 1 parameter lock a piece. So we have 5 locks total on performance macro 8 over here. So, okay. So now at this point you can hit no to get out of the edit menu of the performance mode, go back to performance mode, and try out your new pads. Okay, now let's try the macros that we used with our quick performance knob. So again, the way to do that, select these 4, 2, 3, 4, okay? And let's play the beat. And then you can see that the quick performance knob affects the ones that we're using. Now it's interesting because the ones I have set down here aren't set to the exact same values. So in all honesty, these macros will sound a little bit different than the ones that we just made, which is totally cool. Maybe that's something you want to do. See, one thing I didn't do on these macros was set the bass drum to have any kind of filtering. That was just a personal decision. You might be asking yourself, oh, why didn't he filter the bass? Well, that's just, that's up to your style, basically. So if that's something you want to do, by all means, I encourage it, So hope that helps you guys. That's performance mode in a nutshell. It can seem a little daunting at first. It can seem a little bit confusing, but it really isn't once, someone shows it to you. I understand the power of teaching by showing. So hope that helps you guys, and I'll be back very soon with another video, and I'll see you next time.